Alright, welcome back to the channel, and we're flying again this evening. It's Christmas Eve, so because of that, because of Christmas reasons, we are flying, sort of, to the North Pole. So I've got Flight Sim working again. So those of you who weren't in last night's stream, after the update, I was getting super low FPS. So they introduced VR. A bunch of people are complaining about VR as well, but other than that, let me just move my mic, it's slightly in the frame. Other than that, everyone else, well, not everyone, a lot of people were getting pretty bad frame rates, including myself, but I found a trick that someone said on the forum. I tried that and it seems to be working, so we're gonna risk it and hold thumbs that we can get through this flight without any flight sim issues. So we can only hope. But the plan is to fly. We're at Fairbanks in Alaska at the moment, and we're gonna fly to Resolute Bay. I think that's what it's called. I'll double check that in a bit. But that was basically the most northerly airport that it's possible to land on in this aircraft. There was one that I could find that was closer, but it was kind of glitched out. Like the runway was really bumpy, so I tested out taking off and landing there, and it was just impossible. You ended up just wrecking the landing gear. So Resolute Bay is, I think, the third closest airport, but it's the only one with an actual like concrete runway, so we should be fine to land there. I didn't try landing there, but I had a look at the airport and it looked fine. So we're gonna go with it and hope it works all right. Also, this is the first time that I've flown the Citation Longitude, which is this beautiful aircraft that we are looking at right now. So let's hope that goes well as well. I do have a checklist as always. So I found one. This was damn difficult to find. I'll put that to you, but someone on the Flight Sim forums was so kind to make this. So it's not going to be perfectly real world. It was made for Flight Sim especially, but we're going to go through it and see how we go. So I do know that the Longitude has an issue with the autopilot when it's cruising, that it tends to porpoise up and down. But there is a fix for that, which is as simple as turning the autopilot on and off. And I tried that earlier and it worked. So just because we're streaming, it's probably all going to fall apart, but we're going to try it anyway. So let's jump into the cockpit. So interestingly enough here, I'll show you when we get to the other end of the flight, because in Flight Sim it's really cool. We can change the weather real time. But because we're going to the North Pole and it's winter there, the sun never comes up, so it's going to be dark there regardless of what time. So it's early morning here in Fairbanks in Alaska, but as we go further north it's going to get dark, and it doesn't matter what you set the time to, it is always pretty dark. So we'll mess around with that later so I can show you. Okay, my view, that Air France plane doesn't have Air France written on the side. Interesting. Okay, so let's get started. So before start checklist, our parking brake is set, which it is. Then we should go batteries left and right on. So I'm going to be a lot slower than I am in, for example, the 737 or the A319, because like I said, this is the first time I've ever flown this, but I know the battery switches are here. Okay. So we'll turn those guys on. Then generators 1 and 2 can come on. Then APU start. The APU is down here, so we'll turn that to start, and it should snap back to on, and we'll let that power up. Now there should be an indication for that somewhere, I would expect. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we'll wait for that to stabilize, and then we'll kick the APU onto the bus. Right, so we're at 100% and it's stable, so let's go APU on the bus, and we now have APU power. Perfect. Okay, APU bleed. Where on earth is that? So That should be down here somewhere. Okay, APU bleed on normal. Yes, it is. See, we got this. We got this. Okay, standby power. We don't actually need to mess around with it. I don't think it is modeled, so that should be on. Perfect. External power we're not using, but it is available because we're on the APU already. Doesn't matter. Right. Bus tie should be open, which it is now. Cool. Now, I did set up the route for us in the flight kind of creation part, so our route is already programmed. We don't really have to do anything in terms of our route planning, but we can bring up our flight plan here, and that should load. Cool. Yeah, so Resolute Bay, that's where we're going. CYRB, so somewhere far north of Canada. Right, and I wanted to do this in Flight Sim because the whole idea of visiting the North Pole is just to see what it looks like, because it's just an interesting flight. And so obviously Flight Sim does look a lot more interesting than the other sims that we have available at the moment. Whether or not it's, you know, the best, that kind of depends. Anyway, let's carry on. So, what else do we need to do? We need to set our transponder. I have no idea where we do that in this aircraft, but it's probably in here somewhere. There we go. I see, look at that, we're learning. So 1324 is the one that I always use. Enter. Nice. Okay, we'll just use the cheat to set our QNH, which is the B key. Right, flight plan is set. We don't have any SIDS or stars. Right, we are going all the way up to 45,000 feet today, but I don't think, that actually reminds me, we are just going to take as much fuel as we can, because I believe the Longitude is still glitched in its fuel consumption, but if we go full fuel, we should have enough to get there. One thing I do want to do is come up here and set my lights. We'll put the tail lights on, we will also put the nav lights on to indicate that we are under power, and I just want to bring the panel lights on so it's easier to read things. Okay, so we're going to set our altitude. We're not going to go all the way up to 45,000 off the bat. We'll go to 39, and then as we burn off some fuel kind of halfway along, we'll step up as we go. Mind you, we actually won't step straight from 39 to 45. We'll do gradual step climbs as we go along. Right. Okay, so we also need our speed bug, so we need to switch this over to manual, and we need to dial that in to, we'll do, oh geez, not 300, we want to do about 235 should be safe, because we don't want to exceed the 250 knots below 10,000 feet, and these like business jets, they have loads of power, so you'll see we're going to climb like an absolute rocket. Right. Okay, so altitude and speed are set. Then recognition lights are on, and we can contact ground for our pushback. So using pushback express from FS to crew. So let's check that everything is clear. That all looks good. Which runway are we taking off from? So we're actually pretty close to the runway that we're going to take off from. Can I not zoom? There we go, that one. Okay, I mean we're taking off from right here, so it's really close, but I can't just drive forward because we're going to hit that ground power unit, and we'll hit our tug dude as well. So we're going to push base to the left and then taxi out. So we'll go. We are ready for pushback and engine start.
Thanks, have a good flight. See you later.
That's not what you're supposed to say. We are ready for pushback and engine start.
Roger. Release the parking brakes, please.
Brakes released.
Pushing back.
Oh, so we're not actually using the little tug dude. That's interesting. But now we should have control over our own pushback. Look at that. Wonder why we didn't actually use the little tug. Maybe because it's not an airliner? I don't know. That's interesting. Okay, but we don't need to go too far here. This whole area is actually tarmac. I know it doesn't look like it, it's just because of the snow. Stop pushback.
Pushback complete. Set parking brakes, please.
Brake set.
Roger. Okay, the tow bar is disconnected and the equipment is clear. We will see you on the right with the pin.
You are clear to disconnect and go to hand signals.
Thanks. Have a good flight. See you later.
Right, so now that pushback is done,
Go ahead, flight deck.
I don't know why he keeps speaking to me. It's only supposed to work if I hold down the button, but it seems to be picking stuff up even when I'm not holding it down. So let's just get rid of that. Right, let's go and start the engines. Now this is quite interesting. So we have to flip this open, set that to run, close it again. So we'll do that for both sides. And then we hit the start button. And it should start. There we go. Okay, so starting the left engine. I have figured out that if you try and start both engines at the same time, it doesn't work. The second engine doesn't actually start properly. So we do have to wait for this one to stabilize until we start the second engine. What we can do though is go and turn on our taxi lights, and we should have turned on the anti-collision lights actually before we started our pushback. Bad. First mistake. Right. Let's have a look at the checklist. This is a very basic checklist, so it's not as detailed as the stuff we normally go through. However, anti-collision lights on was on there. Oops. Mind you, we turn the anti-collision lights on before we start the engines, so I guess we're sort of okay. But you should do it before you start pushing back. Because I mean, generally we start the engines while we're pushing back anyway, but hey, they're on now, so we'll just deal with it. Okay. Let's let that stabilize. That looks pretty good because our N1 is stable. So let's go and start the right engine. Okay, the N2 is coming up, so that is powering up, which is perfect. I wonder if these are actually the fuel shut-off valves. They must be. Auto ground spoilers. That sounds like a thing that should be on. But that's mainly going to be for landing, yes. I wonder what this is. Oh, this is the parking brake. Oh, that's control lock. That shouldn't be in the lock position. It's not something we can change. That's all good. Okay, but it's got like a handbrake like a car. That's pretty cool. Right. Okay, so engines are powered up. We have the engine, the button guards, the start button guards are both closed. Okay, engine 1 and 2 running. Then we should go bus tie closed. We have turned on both the generators, but we can now set the APU generator to off, and we can shut down the APU. Alright. Okay, parking brake is set. We're not messing around with ACC, we're just gonna bomb out of here. Okay, emergency lights should be armed. That must be up here somewhere. Nice. Set. Okay. Light director can come on. We can go, we need to go into nav mode because we're going to follow the procedure on departure. But we need to make sure that our GPS, or that our navigation system is following GPS, which it isn't at the moment. It's probably going to say FMS. There we go. That's the one. Right. That's all good. We are ready for our departure here now. Let's release the parking brake. Taxi lights are on. Give it a little bit of power. We are on the ice here. Well, mostly snow. What is the temperature? Minus 18 here in Fairbanks, Alaska. I almost turned there, which is exactly where we pushed back from. But we do have our nice display there of the taxiways and the runways, which is nice. So we're kind of going to go through. These blue lights will be on either side of the taxiway, so we need to be in between those, like so. Okay, now this looks a little weird here, because we can just go straight onto the runway, it looks like, because the actual runway start is over there, but it looks like we can just go straight. So I'm going to do that. So there, that's a hold short point there. Okay, so before we cross that, we'll turn on the landing lights. We should turn off the taxi lights before we take off, because in this aircraft, if you leave the taxi light on when the nose gear comes on, the light shines through the floor, and it's very annoying. We should also have our strobe lights, which are called pulse lights, in this aircraft. Right. Ready for takeoff? Oh, flaps. Position 1. Right, this is most likely going to be a very short takeoff run, as you will see, because this aircraft has loads of power. Pretty clear skies here in Fairbanks. Okay, here we go. So we'll power up all the way to full throttle. There's 80 knots. A little bit slippery. And at 140 we can rotate. Positive ready climb, gear up. And we'll go flaps up, we're out of the white arc now, and watch this thing climb. Yes, what we will do is we'll engage our flight level change and dial that back up to 235. And now we can follow that flight director. I mean, look at that, we must be climbing over 4,000 feet a minute. Yeah, 4,200, 4,300 feet a minute. Alright, I didn't want to follow our GPS course right away because it had that funny little turn, which was very close to the airport. So that does mean we're a little bit off course now, but that's fine because we're going to come around this side. And just do a nice smooth turn like so. Okay, I'm going to bring the power back a bit, now that we are established in the climb. I mean, look at that, we're passing 8,000 feet already. Crazy performance. So this is one thing I do find with Flight Sim, is because the visuals are so cool. I tend to hand fly a lot more than I do in the other sims. I mean, if you've watched any of my previous streams where we're doing X-Plane, you know, when we cross 400 feet, it's autopilot on. Okay, fair enough. With the airline, there's a lot more stuff to do. Having said that, I should turn these off now. There's a lot more stuff to do, so you do kind of need the autopilot relatively soon after taking off, so you can, you know, sort out gear and flaps and lights and systems and all of that good stuff. it is kind of difficult with this crazy high climb rate to actually maintain that speed. That's why we gave ourselves a bit of a buffer from that 250 knots, which we're actually now over 10,000 feet, so we can start speeding up, and let's try and get ourselves on that GPS course. But because the visuals are just so cool, I much prefer hand flying in Flight Sim 2020, which is interesting. I mean, if I was an X-Plane, we would have definitely put the autopilot on by now. Having said that, I don't really fly anything in X-Plane aside from airliners anymore. It's funny because X-Plane used to be what I used for the GA stuff because it just looked so much better than FSX, and I used to use FSX just for airliners, and now it's kind of swapped over since the new Flight Sim came out. Okay, so something to note about the Longitude is it doesn't have an auto throttle. So throughout the flight we are going to be maintaining our speed. Well, not necessarily the speed, because we can use the pitch to control the speed as well, like I'm doing now. But we are going to need to manually manage our throttles throughout the entire flight. But what a cool aircraft this is. And once again, the Microsoft Scenery Simulator does look amazing. For all the issues that we have, it still does look bloody good. Okay, let's make sure we're drifting off course a little bit, and we're a little slow. You look at that climb rate though. We're just past 18,000 feet. We're still climbing at 2,500 feet a minute, and accelerating as well. And we're not even at full throttle. Okay, coming up to our 288 speed. The reason why I choose 288 is because that's normally what we accelerate to in the 737 once we pass 10,000 feet. So it's just kind of the habit, and we're just used to seeing that 288 pop up once we clear the 10,000 foot restriction. So that's what I've dialed in here as well. Still find the controls very twitchy in this sim. See, like even if I just want to make smooth movements there, it kind of bounces. Well, I mean, it's been like that since day one. That was literally the first thing I said when I tried Flight Sim 2020. Where's our flight director now? There we go. Okay, 22,000 feet already. We're still hand flying. A little bit of cloud down there. Now, because we don't have Active Sky or any of those, also I can move this, any of those third-party weather injection apps, I don't have any way to check the actual in-sim weather or our destination, because they do have an ILS. So that was one of the reasons I chose this airport. Is it's first of all the closest to the North Pole that I could find that has a concrete runway, not just a dirt strip or like a snow strip, I guess, up here. And it also has an ILS, so even if the weather is really bad up that side, we should still be able to get in. Actually, I'm going to switch over to the autopilot now because it's just getting very jittery at this altitude. We should also set our altimeters to standard. Okay, before we do autopilot, let's get ourselves back on course here. That'll do. Right, let's go autopilot on. And it should maintain that speed and keep us on our GPS course. Okay, we're at 90% N1. Everything else is in the green. Yeah, we're flying out of Alaska, and we're going to be heading pretty much almost exactly northeast, as you can see on the map there, all the way up to the far, far north kind of end of Canada to Resolute Bay. As close as we could reasonably get to the North Pole. Right, so we're just about back on GPS course now, coming up to 28,500 feet. We have to pay attention now, because when we get to our cruising altitude, we have to make sure that that we actually sort out our throttles, because it's not going to power back on its own. Remember, no auto throttle in this aircraft, so we have to do that ourselves. Otherwise we'll very, very quickly overspeed in this aircraft. Right, we're also going to need to pay close attention to our fuel. So, there we have our total fuel. Minus 54 degrees Celsius. That is intense. Yes, we're coming up to 30,000 feet. We're still at 90% our N1, which is perfect for our climb. So yeah, we're going to keep paying close attention to our fuel. I wonder... So that's our next rad weather. That should display that on there. There we go. Okay, so I mean, all the bad weather is kind of behind us, and the worst part of it is off to the left. Up ahead, a little bit of orange there. So we'll see as we get closer to Resolute Bay. Okay, so here we start now with our side-to-side thing. So let's turn the autopilot off and on again, and see if it'll sort itself out. So it looks like in the climb we might still have the side-to-side motion. It does, cycling the autopilot from my testing earlier on does fix it once we are cruising. Let's see if we go heading 017. Let's engage the heading hold and see if that also kind of seesaws from side to side. That looks a bit better. So we'll stay on heading mode until we actually get to our top of climb. So I'm just going to have to manage that as well and make sure we are matching that purple course line so that we stay on our GPS course. Like, now it's moving. Okay, makes sense though. Obviously we're moving to the next navigation point. Yeah, there's 33,000. Now you can see the barber's poles coming down. as we start moving up through the Mach numbers. I'm not going to switch us over from from IAS to Mach because that's bugged and it doesn't switch back. So true airspeed 470 knots. So as that keeps coming down, we'll just keep adjusting our flight level change speed so that we don't go into those barber poles, we don't overspeed the aircraft. So let's actually bring it down to 280. Really bad weather over there. Okay, 35,000 feet. I think actually we're climbing. Yeah, see, we're not even climbing at 1,000 feet per minute, so we are going to level off at 39,000, burn off some of our fuel. Once we've gotten rid of some of that weight, we will then do our step climbs. We should eventually reach 45,000 feet, which is the service ceiling of this aircraft. It's not entirely necessary. If we do cruise at a lower level, it's not an issue. Right, the other thing I wanted to see is if I push this, I should be able to move this around. Oh, look at that. Okay, so our next red weather obviously doesn't go forever, but it looks like, I'm pointing with this mouse cursor, it looks like up in this area before Patat, we might be heading into some interesting weather, but to be honest, at 40,000 feet, we're going to be above all of the weather, so I'm not too stressed about that. It's only once we get to Resolute Bay that we really have to worry. Barber poles are creeping up on us again. So it will come down to 270 knots indicated. And you can see, once we get back down to that speed and we stabilize our climb here, I'm also just going to push us over a bit so we can realign that GPS course. So we're stabilizing at about 650, 600 feet per minute climb. Oh, it's coming down even more. So yeah, we're not gonna go up to 45,000 feet just yet. Actually, to be honest, we probably should have leveled off at 37. So we're gonna have a painfully slow climb now of 550 feet per minute. Next 2,000 feet. That's okay. Right. Put this back over. Let's see if we go back into nav mode, if it's going to swing from side to side. Seems like it might be okay for now. And we are starting to see pretty high clouds there. But that's obviously the beginning of that. I don't know, would you call that a storm front? Or just a cloud bank? That's definitely, we're starting to see that up ahead. Okay, now we tell if the autopilot's actually going to swing back and forwards, which it looks like it might do. Put the speed down a bit more. That'll push our climb rate up nicely for a bit. push the engines up just a little bit, another 5%, 6%, just to push us up to that 30,000 foot mark. Sorry, 39,000. Let's go back into heading mode because that's going to annoy me a lot. Right. So ETA to FYU. 2 minutes. Are those storm clouds going to be high enough to affect us? No, they're not. Like I was saying earlier, it's going to keep getting darker as we go, and there's nothing we can do about that because it's winter up here, North Pole side, so it's dark. Okay, so there we start leveling out. I should have caught that earlier. It's not often that I fly aircraft without an autothrottle, so I'm going to have to remember to pay attention to this closely. And we're going to have to keep an eye on our speed. Okay, current air temperature outside, minus 49 degrees. Right, let's go over to nav mode and see what it does. So it should correct just a little bit. And if it does start to swing from side to side, we will cycle the autopilot and see if that sorts it out. Which it should, hopefully. Okay, that's a big overcorrection. Let's turn the autopilot off, give it a second or so, and see if that fixes it. If it doesn't, we're just going to heading mode it all the way there, which is going to be a little bit of extra work, but I'd rather have that than this constant pitching side to side. See, now earlier when I tested it, all I did was cycle the autopilot and it was fine. And I left it running for half an hour or so, and it didn't do this. So come on, stabilize. It doesn't look like it wants to. Let's try something else. No, I think we're going to do the heading mode thing, to be honest. That looks a bit better. Take a look from outside. See how it's going to swing back to the right now. Oh well, let's go heading mode. Not too much of an issue, we just need to pay attention to it. But we're going to have to be concentrating on our speed in any case. Okay, so we got there by Patat. I did say I expected us to run into some weather there. So obviously the cloud's starting just before, but there, that purple is some hectic turbulence. The question is, does that extend all the way up to our destination, or are we just going to pass over it? Because I'm not expecting any issues up here at 39,000 feet. Mind you, with the turbulence we could get, the storm clouds and stuff like that, snow and things, we won't be affected by it, but we could definitely hit turbulence up here. So we can have a look for that. We go back into weather, and we do our weather radar horizontal. Or actually, let's do vertical. This is a bit tough to read, it gives us our distance, but then this scale is kind of weird. So we're in the middle there, and if I'm looking at that line, I think all of that is below us. That looks like it's pretty close, but I think all of it is underneath the kind of midpoint of that. So to me, let's see if we can line that up nicely and have a look. See, so the midpoint would be right there. So I think that is all below us. I mean, the purple stuff is the real issue that we need to watch out for, and that seems like we're going to be comfortably a couple of thousand feet over that. Because I mean, the only kind of scale reference they give you is plus 60,000 minus 60,000, which is a crazy scale. But hey, can we zoom this in and out? We can. See, and this is the other thing, is that zooming in and out changes the kind of horizontal scale, but not the vertical scale, which doesn't make any sense, because now this is telling me in 17.5 miles it's below minus 60,000 feet below us, which is what, 20,000 feet underground? I don't quite... I would expect this scale to change as well. Maybe I'm just being an idiot and reading this completely wrong, but that doesn't make sense to me. How can you zoom in and out and not have your vertical scale change? Yeah, anyway, from what I gather, I mean, that now makes it look like we might just touch the top of those clouds. Anyway, is our horizontal, so we are going right over the purple stuff, which makes sense. We can see it there on our next rad, GPS weather. There is that cloud base coming up now. Right, let's make sure we are on course, which we are slightly to the left. So let's give it a little bit, and we're a little bit fast. So we don't need this. Right, we can also put the music on because we are now well into the cruise. Yeah, we don't have the anti-ice on, which some people often find it quite strange, but the fact is, it's so cold at minus 50 that we're not actually going to get any icing. So I think the general rule is about above minus 10 degrees, you generally don't need the anti-ice. What a cool looking aircraft. Okay, we should be checking our fuel as well. So it doesn't give us a percentage. So let's go and look here. 93%. So our total fuel is 6,500. This is also given to us in gallons, which is not particularly useful either. So let's see, our max, when I change this doesn't switch over. Great. So we might have to keep coming in here to check this, just because that's displayed to us in gallons. Or we could take 6,500 kgs and convert it to gallons to see what our total is. So we need to do it for Jet A1. And there's a site called MyE6V, which is just a online calculator for all things, all conversions that you need to do for aviation. So we are converting 6,500 kgs of Jet A, so that is 2,138 gallons. So at the moment we have actually something here. It's going to make my life easier. Look at that. Oh, it still powers on. Awesome. Okay, so we've got 2003 plus 1001 plus 1002. And already in my head that sounds like a hell of a lot more than 2000. Ah, so I think, because we've got 4006, I mean this is reading gallons, but I think it's actually in kgs. What does this say? This says we've got 6,000 kgs on. What is going on? Oh, idiot. Oh no, okay, never mind, I'm just dumb. So this is our, I thought we had 3 tanks. We've only got 2 tanks. That's our total in the middle, so we don't actually need a calculator because we have the total in the middle there. So 2,000 or 1,999 gallons now on board, and our total that we could have is 2,100. So we are doing perfectly fine on fuel consumption. We might actually have taken too much as usual. Let's bring back the throttles a bit because we are a little fast. Now, how on here do I display my wind? Actually seem to give me any settings. I'm clicking on it, but it doesn't open anything. It's like weather, if I click on it, it opens that menu. Maybe it's on this guy. See, I don't see anything here. Time is minimums. PFD settings. Wind. There we go. Option 3 is the one that I like. Oh, okay, so we've got a 18 knot tailwind, which is why we started speeding up there. That makes sense. Right, so we're now passing over that weather system. Pretty much at Patat, we will head over the real bad part of that weather. But again, we can see up ahead there's nothing conflicting with us. Let's go and double check. Yeah, I see, I think we're passing underneath all of that. I mean, not underneath. That's all passing underneath us. This vertical scale rate doesn't make sense to me, but anyway, we can see it there. It's all underneath us. If any of it was sitting, they should really just have a line there. That would be so useful. Nice sunrise over Alaska. Okay, let's check. We feel like slowing down a little bit. Well, a little bit too much, that is. One thing I realized that we actually didn't do was have a look at our checklist after takeoff. Right, so that's all done. I mean, after takeoff was literally just gear up, flaps up, and then... Oh, this is auto throttle. Am I a massive baddie and there actually is an auto throttle that I didn't know about? No. Yeah, there's an auto throttle button. No. Oh my word. Yep. If we read the checklist earlier, we would have known that it actually does have an auto throttle. It's just a button here on the throttle levers. There's nothing up here to control it. Hectic. Okay. Right, well, when you read the checklist, we actually learn things. Okay, so during climb, auto throttle engaged, autopilot on, flight level changed on, flight level change on. Heading as needed, ice protection as needed, it is not required. Right, let's see if we engage the VNAV, which is generally broken in flight sim. Doesn't appear to be doing anything different. I can't actually tell if that light's on because of this glare. I want to just put my hand up, but obviously I can't do that. Oh wow, we are quite off course here, because we've been messing around with the auto throttle, which we didn't know existed. Right, so that's pretty cool. Oh well, we had some practice maintaining our speed by hand, which is never a bad thing. Okay, at cruise, altimeter standard, backup altimeter, which will also be set to standard. It is. Landing lights off above 10,000 feet, that's done. Ice protection as required. Project and set. Now, I wonder, for the arrival, how we get things like ILS frequencies. Not departure. I want to see. How do I select arrival? It is, it's right there. I don't think there are any arrival procedures. No, there aren't. But we should be able to choose a runway, right? Nope. Patty. Huh. Okay, so that's interesting. Right, so we can't. Can we choose an approach? Ah, there we go. Okay, so we can choose a ILS 35, which is exactly what we want. We don't want to do anything with it now, but do we not have any like airport info? It doesn't seem like it. Waypoint info, airport. Select airport. Crap, what is it called? CYRB. So, CYRB. Frequencies. ILS, there we go. 110.30. Are we swinging left to right again? Yeah, we are. Bad plane. Okay, so nav frequencies were here, I think. Nav 2, where's nav 1 there? So it is 110.30. Enter. How do I switch? Oops. How do I switch it over? Transfer. Yeah, 110.30. Perfect. So we have our ILS frequency dialed in already for when we arrive. And this thing is just not, just doesn't want to do it here. Alright, we'll go heading mode. I guess that's just the way it's gonna have to be for this flight. Yeah, some intense weather below us. I mean, that actually looks quite stormy through there. So, I mean, I'm up for a weather challenge arriving in Resolute Bay. I don't mind. I'll land in the rough weather. Makes it kind of interesting. I don't like orange lights, I think. It freaks me out. This for the little map, yeah. That's pretty cool. Now. Oh, I can't actually change that. That's our. We can open up the flight plan. Where does it open? Yeah, it doesn't actually do anything by the looks of things. But that's okay. Alright, so we have our ILS dialed in, which is perfect. Let's go back to the home page. So we are ready when we arrive there. That's a. Oh, that's the moon. I was gonna say that's a pretty interesting looking cloud, but it's the moon. Okay, Sizzle, thanks for tuning in. You should be playing your other game, but always appreciate the support. We are flying to kind of the North Pole. That's the idea for today. So because it's Christmas Eve, we're doing North Pole things. But we're getting as close as we can. So the thing is, the closest airport that I could find to the North Pole is just like a random snow ice runway, which didn't work too nicely. It was very bumpy and difficult to land on, and I tested it twice and it broke the plane both times. So also the weather's quite bad, as you can see by all the purple along the way. So if it's like that at the other end, we need an instrument landing system so we can actually get into the airport. So we're flying to the airport that has a concrete runway and an ILS that is as close to the North Pole as I could find. And it is a little airport called Resolute Bay in the far north of Canada. So that's where we're flying. We took off from Fairbanks, Alaska. It's currently, if we look down here, minus 50 degrees Celsius up here in Alaska. That is the moon up ahead of us, which is pretty cool. Yeah, so we're heading to Resolute Bay. You can play your game whenever. Yeah, but I know you're excited to play it, so feel free to... I mean, you could even watch YouTube on your phone and play your game. That's an option, if you wanted to. Just use your earphones on your phone to listen to the stream. Put your phone next to you and play your game on your laptop. Because we're going to be cruising for a while. We're in the Cessna Citation Longitude. Really cool business jet, private jet. And we are powering our way over Alaska towards Canada. I should actually be checking to see that we're on course. We are slightly off. So let's go one click to the left. We're also learning things about the plane. We've got a checklist, which was hard to find, but I have it now, and every time I read it, I learn something. I flew the whole way doing the throttles myself, and then halfway through, about 5-10 minutes ago, realized that it actually has an auto throttle, so now the plane's doing it for us, because I just assumed it didn't have one, but it's got a little button down here on the throttle for AT, auto throttle, so it's controlling it for us. But the whole way during the takeoff and the climb in the first half an hour or so of the cruise, I was doing it myself like an absolute player. And I wondered, because I mean, for a really expensive jet like this, I thought it would have an auto throttle, but that was just me being bad. Hey, the moon looks really cool. But yeah, I hope you are enjoying your Christmas Eve. Chilling, playing games. That's the way it should be done. As you can see, that's exactly what we're doing. I also got my old school school calculator, because we were doing some maths. And then also realized I didn't need to do maths because the plane does it for you. So we were checking fuel, which we should actually check again. And like a baddie, I didn't notice the TOT here, which means total. So I thought we had 3 fuel tanks, so I was using the calculator to add all this up. But that is the total of those 2 added together. So we had some fun doing maths, but we didn't actually need to do it. Okay, so 1,928 gallons on board. So what is that in kgs? So 1,928 US gallons is 5,859 kgs of fuel on board. So the other cool thing, well, I don't know if it's going to be particularly cool, but the interesting thing about flying to the North Pole is it's winter there, so the sun never comes up, pretty much. So you'll see when we get that side, it doesn't matter what time we set it to, it's dark, which is quite weird. Well, that moon is really cool. I haven't seen that before in Flight Sim. It's really big. I wonder if that's got anything to do with being at the North Pole. Is that how the moon works? Does it get bigger if you go further north? I didn't think so. Anyway, the moon looks really cool. That's what we're taking from that. Okay, we are at 80% throttle, so I think we can step up now to 41,000 feet. Feels like a good time to do so. So we'll dial that up to 41,000 feet. Flight level change. And we let the auto throttle takes care of everything for us. We don't have to do it. The things you learn when you actually go through. I mean, this is the most basic reading material you could ever have found. Obviously, if you were flying this plane for real, you'd go through tons and tons of very complex, very detailed documentation to be qualified to fly this. Surprise, surprise, they don't just let random people like me jump into an aircraft like this without proving significantly that you know what the hell you're actually doing. Wonder how much one of these costs. Let's go and see. It's not going to be cheap. I can tell you that off the bat. 27 million US dollars.
Overspeed.
Oh wow, why are we overspeeding?
Overspeed.
Oh, because I'm a baddie.
Overspeed. Overspeed.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. I'm fixing it. We'll be fine. Yeah, so the auto throttle is managing the throttles, but if we don't set the speed correctly, it's still gonna mess up. Oh yeah, I was trying to work out 27 million US dollars in rands. So that's almost 400 million rand, 395 million rand for one of these. Just a little bit expensive. Okay, let's actually make sure we are not. You can see it's definitely getting darker as we're heading towards the North Pole. You can see all the way around there the darkness approaching. Or I guess we're approaching it, but you know what I mean. Okay, let's get ourselves back on the correct heading. And our speed is good. We're now at 41,000 feet. Perfect. Good to go. Now this is something interesting that happens. Okay, I think we are actually over the... Well, I can't check now because it's cloudy. But I noticed earlier on when I was doing some testing that at some point when you get too close to the North Pole, even though you can see land underneath you, the GPS just thinks you're over the water. Okay, now I think we are just actually over the water. But that was something that I noticed earlier, which was quite strange. Even the one airport that I was testing, which was like right on the coastline, as north as you could get before the ocean, it thought we were in the middle of the ocean, even though there was clearly land all around us. So I don't know what's happened to them up here at the North Pole. Okay, it looks like this weather definitely doesn't continue all the way to the destination, so we're going to pass over it fairly soon. But I mean, that doesn't mean that there's no bad weather up at Resolute Bay. As the moon rises into the sky. The sun is also, well, I mean, back in Alaska it was rising, but because we're going all the way to the North Pole, it's kind of going down behind us, I guess. Because we did leave early in the morning from Alaska, so it was technically sunrise. Those clouds look pretty nasty below us. It's quite a cool picture. The moon is very big. Is there any kind of weird thing happening with the moon tonight? Because Flight Sim is supposed to actually model real world, like, lunar events and stuff like that. But I don't know of any moon stuff happening. That's a thing. Right, while we're cruising along, let's see. I haven't tried... Where did it go? Hello? Okay, on. Right, let's see. So we departed from PAA and we're going to CYRB. Hey, it's actually picking it up. That's pretty cool. So let's see if I do this. OBS. Oh, I have to add this every time. It's such a pain. Let's try this. Go. Now we have our flight information. Okay, so what's it saying? Oh, it's still giving the Metop Fairbanks. Scattered clouds at 180. Obviously that's where we took off from. So we'll see if that updates as we get closer to Resolute Bay. I don't know if it will actually pick up a weather station for that, but we will see. Okay, so we should be passing over this weather system in just a bit. We can see it's starting to open up out there. Yeah, those clouds are quite hectic on that end. And we head into the darkness with the moon in full view. Still very impressed with that. Looks really cool. Let me just check this information. So departure, Fairbanks, arrival, Resolute Bay. Time to go, 1 hour 28 minutes. Call sign, Salt 1324 aircraft. No, that is not right. Plus, that's better. That update. No. Yes, C700. That is the correct aircraft. We are the Cessna. It's a C700, but it's the Cessna Citation Longitude. Awesome. Then that's Fairbanks Meta. Altitude 40,584 feet. Ground speed 513, heading 021. Vertical speed -23. That reminds me, let's double check that we are on the correct heading. Wow, we need to go... Oh, we passed into the next waypoint, that's why. Okay, let's try this again. Let's see if we can get the nav to balance out. Sometimes when you engage it, it works. Sometimes it does not. One thing I'm going to do is just click on this floodlight just to give us a bit of extra light because it's going to get pretty dark. Yeah, let's hope that our plane doesn't oscillate from side to side. It's looking good, looking good. Just stay steady, please. Then we can leave our nav autopilot on. Okay, we're at 80% throttle again. Yeah, it's gonna start wiggling again, and that's really annoying. Stay straight, man. Let's try cycle the autopilot with the nav already engaged. But I am suspecting that we're going to have to go back to heading mode. Oh, the moon is really high already. When we first noticed it, it was just kind of peeking above the clouds, and I just saw that and I was like, what is that strange cloud over there? Okay, we're going back to heading, sorry. Please fix Microsoft. They're so broken. It's been like this for a long time. Right, so once our N1 drops below 80%, then we'll step up to our next altitude, which would be 43,000 feet. I don't think that's an actual rule or an actual procedure, but that's the way that I'm going to do it. Massive diesel just okay, well it's going to my light now. Good luck. Alright, so we got about an hour and 20 minutes to go. Looks like we are clearing the weather now. But maybe it's gonna be all clear on the other end as well. So that's the end of the weather system. I don't see anything further out there. However, when we took off, we couldn't see this weather system, so it's always possible that there is more to come. Okay, let's adjust our headings slightly. Right, so when those two line up, we will make sure our heading there matches our course over there. So what is our next waypoint? What is its name? Mgal. Distance 161 nautical miles. We'll be there in about 19 minutes. Just under 19 minutes. Right. Okay, so we're at 80% N1, and that drops to 79. We'll do our next step climb. That's so cool that the sun is actually, like, it doesn't feel like the moon is just a, you know, an object. It feels like the sun is actually lighting the moon. Because in other sims, it'll just sit there, and the kind of the brightness of the moon doesn't really match the brightness, you know, the ambient light, but that feels like it is, you know, directly being lit by the sun on that side, which is really cool. So you can see how bright it is compared to everything else. That's awesome. Very impressed with that. Okay, so there's Mgal there on the tip of that little island type thing. Can't zoom out anymore, I keep trying. Okay, so we are just about over the worst of that weather. A little bit of patchy clouds here, but all the hectic stuff is down this side. And it's so cool, you can actually see that dark kind of ring as we head to the North Pole. Now here's the thing, I've heard kind of mixed reports. There's a few people on the forum that say that the Northern Lights are actually modeled in Flight Sim, and there's other people that say they aren't. So I haven't seen any screenshots. So I think that probably is the answer. I mean, that would be really cool. I don't know where exactly you would go to see the Northern Lights, or what I mean is, I don't know if we are in the right place to see them. Let's see if there have been any other reports. See, still I don't see any concrete answers. See, they were in FSX. Okay, so oh, that's this looks like X-ray. I mean, I found one picture of Northern Lights in Flight Sim 2020, and it looks heavy photoshopped. Oh, there's a video. Okay, let's check the video out. Let's just mute it so we don't get copyrighted. I'm not gonna show it, obviously. I'm just gonna see. Hopefully this doesn't destroy my stream. Okay, so he's flying from Barrow Airport, which is relatively close to where we took off from. Okay, messing around with settings. I don't see any Northern Lights, man. Right, so clickbait thumbnail, definitely Photoshop because they don't see them in the sim. So yeah, I still don't think the Northern Lights are a thing in Flight Sim 2020 at this stage. I know that they were in FSX, but I, you know, having 12,000 hours in FSX, have never seen them. However, to be honest, I never really fly up this side. I mostly fly in Africa and Australia, which explains why I haven't seen them. No Northern Lights in Flight Sim. I wonder if X-Plane has it. I think X-Plane 10 had it as well. Let's see what we can find. Oh, we should probably be checking our course as well instead of messing around. So, yeah, who would have guessed it would quite far off. Whoops. Aha, so it looks like it's not simulated in X-Plane 11 either, but was in X-Plane 10. Interesting. Alright, let's get ourselves back on heading here. Fuel 1800, all good. So what I will do is let me show you what I mean by it always being dark up here. So, I thought we left in the morning. See. Let's do this. So it is 14:37 because we'll set it back to that when we're done messing around. But if you see this, we can go all the way through and it doesn't really get lighter. I mean, okay, we're still a little bit far for us to see the full effect. But you see, going through the entire 24 hours, I mean, that's the kind of brightest that it gets. We never actually get full daytime. So if we go around this side and watch what the sun does, you see, the sun never actually comes up into the sky. It just kind of, you know, goes around on the edge of the horizon. Yeah, as we go even further north, it gets even more pronounced. Oh, I've missed the heading again, baddie. Poor passengers, we're just rocking them from side to side. Oh, that makes sense that it's the brightest. So morning is kind of at 2 o'clock in the afternoon because that's when the sun would be highest in the sky, but because it doesn't actually get, you know, like overhead, that's kind of your sunrise from 2 o'clock to like 3 o'clock, and then there's no sun at all for the rest of the time. That must be super weird. Like, it must mess with your internal clock so hard. Okay, I feel like we're going to step up to 41,000 feet. 43,000 feet, sorry. Okay, we'll bring the speed back as well to make sure we don't overspeed this time. And that'll also give us quite an intense vertical speed off the bat. Right, we're slowly coming back onto course. That land out there is a cloud. Oh, that's land. It's all ice and snow, obviously, but it is land nonetheless. Okay, so weather's clearing up. We'll see a patch of light clouds there. We'll see if we run into anything significant closer to Resolute Bay. Yeah, what's it say in terms of time to go on our hour and 8 minutes? Checking the heading. Feel 1781. I still feel like it goes down quicker than it should, but we should be alright. I mean, this plane should be able to do like 9-10 hour flights. And I mean, we took full fuel, and we've already used 300 gallons out of our 2,000, and we've only been flying for an hour and 10 minutes or so. Seems a bit excessive still to me. Yeah, there's our heading. So let's dial this into 30 degrees, keep us on our GPS course. Yeah, and we are leveling off at 43,000 feet. So I know the runway has an ILS. I'm assuming if it has an ILS, it will also have it'll also have runway lights. Because obviously it's going to be dark. There's nothing we can do about that because it's always dark this time of year. So definitely has an ILS. We saw that in our flight plan, but hopefully it has runway lights as well, so that we can actually see the runway when we are on our approach. Okay, 19 nautical miles to go to MGO. 2 minutes. Next is 73 north, 20. Or maybe it's just 73 and 20. I don't know if that's an actual. I don't think it's a coordinate. I think it's just a waypoint. I didn't want to turn that off, but let's go and have a look here. So our flight plan actually wants us to already be at 45,000 feet, but that's a bit hectic to climb up to. I mean, I guess we could. We'll do it after MGO. We'll step up to 45. And at this stage, I don't think it's really making that much of a difference. I mean, in our step up from 41 to 43, we've gone from. We were at 80% at 41,000, we're now 82%, and want to maintain that speed. True airspeed 493, ground speed 516, so we're roughly the same speed, I guess. Don't recognize any of those stars. You are supposed to be able to recognize different stars and things. I mean, that looks like it must be something new. I don't know. That is something I'm not particularly good with. On my phone I just have an app that you can point and it tells you what things are, but obviously yeah, I can't do that here and find some. Right, so there we are at MGO. Let's adjust our heading to 024 as we turn to the next waypoint. We want to go just a little bit over to get back onto our course. Right, let's take our map and just see how much further we actually have to go. So still quite a way to go. And there is Resolute Bay over there. Right. Let's get ourselves back onto the correct heading. So we need to go this way a couple of degrees. What are we at now? 80%. Yeah, I think we can do our step up to 45,000 feet. Let's do that. So we'll dial in 45. Come on. 45,000. We'll go flight level change, and the aircraft will take care of that for us. I feel like the moon's getting smaller. Anyway. Right, so our actual course is 025. We are 020 at the moment. Once we catch up with that line, that'll take us all the way to 73 November 20. Let's get rid of this. Okay, we'll bring our speed down a bit as well to make sure we don't overspeed. Let's do 230. There we go, 44,000. So the service ceiling of this aircraft is 45, so we're not going to go any higher than that. That is as high as we are certified to go. I mean, in theory, we could take it higher, but we shouldn't. Right, so there's 44.5, and we're just about back on that course line. Let's actually give it another 2 degrees or so. We can catch up a little quicker. We need to bring some speed off as well, otherwise it's going to start complaining. Right, so we're starting to level off 45,000 feet. Okay, we're coming up to that course line. Just a bit more. Okay, so what should we be? 026. Let's go and dial it in now. Okay, 026 set. I made a mistake. I opened that window on that side as well earlier today. That's where my key light is, so all the creatures are coming through that window now to the light. Not the best plan. Right, we are perfectly on course, looking good. Yeah, so how long does this say we have still to go? Exactly an hour. Awesome. I don't have because I want to do some fuel calculations, but I don't actually have the exact time that we took off. So I mean, the stream's been going for an hour and 51 minutes, but I started it about 5 minutes before. Yeah, well, it was going on the intro scene for about 5 minutes, and then it was probably 15 minutes before we took off, I think, maybe 20. So if we've been going for an hour and a half, that is 90 minutes. So 90 minutes we've used. We started with 2,130 gallons of fuel. We've now got 1,730. So we've used exactly 400 gallons of fuel in an hour and a half. We've still got 1,700, and we've got an hour left of the flight, so we're gonna have more than enough fuel when we get to the other end. As usual on this channel, we've got way too much extra fuel. But that's okay. I'd rather have too much than too little. Okay, let's adjust our heading again because we're slightly to the right. So I wonder if we're in Canada. We should be in Canadian airspace now, I think. I wonder if that's the line there. Most likely. We started off in Alaska in airspace, obviously. But now I think that's most likely either that purple one or these yellow ones. So I think we've kind of just moved over. It'll be the yellow one because you'll probably find that MGO is the transition where you switch over to the next airspace. So I think we are now in Canadian airspace. Okay, what waypoint? So we've got one more after that. So we're 112 miles to 73 November 20, and then it's another 180 miles to the next one, and from there another 250 miles, so quite a long final leg. Let's give us a little bit more left turn here. Okay, just about back on course. So So what's our desired course? 029. Okay, so almost there. And ETA to, or ETE I guess, to 7/3 November 20 is exactly 2 minutes. Definitely getting darker, as we expected. Moon's getting smaller. Okay, coming up on our heading now. We're just gonna get on heading, and then it's gonna change again as we go to the next waypoint. We now have a 14-knot crosswind. That's pretty hectic. Yeah, just one more click on that course line. So we'll go 030 on the heading, and that'll put us straight over to our next waypoint. And from there we've got, what did I say, about 185 miles I think to the next one. 180. Oh, it's not giving us the distance in between, it's giving us the total distance. Oh no, it is giving us the distance between, must be. That was still 112, so it's 180 nautical miles now. That's just our heading, so it wants us to be at 036, but we're a little bit... Oh, that's perfect. Oh, we're pretty close. A tiny bit off. Obviously that's going to get worse over time, but now that's perfect. We definitely are in Canadian airspace now. Well, you can check. Let's pull this up. Yeah, Edmonton Centre. So I think MGUL was our transition from Alaskan airspace over to Canadian airspace. Okay, let's drop that by 1 degree so we can slowly come back onto our course line. Yeah, 175 miles to go to 74 November 10. I wonder, I think those are actually just coordinates. 74 north, 10 east. Does that sound right? Do we have coordinates anywhere here that we can check? Probably not. See, if we had an actual flight plan on that briefing for each waypoint, we'd have the coordinates, but we just did this, we just set up this flight plan in the sim itself, so we don't have like a sim brief, actual flight briefing or anything. But the weather seems pretty clear, so we got some more weather coming in there. So we might have some clouds to deal with on our approach. We can't see them yet, it's still a little far out. So why do I feel like our heading is getting worse? 1038. We're doing 035, so we should be catching up nicely. Strange. Let's do the nav thing. We'll try it one last time. Let's see if it's gonna play the game for once in this flight. It's just typical because I did 2 tests to see if this plane and flight sim was actually going to work, because I was having huge issues with the flight sim yesterday. And so I was like, I better just test it. So I just took off from Fairbanks and flew for about 45 minutes. And I engaged the heading. We had the swerving issue. I turned the autopilot off, turned it back on, and it was fine. It stayed on nav course for 45 minutes. So I'm like, cool, okay, it works. Do it on the stream, doesn't work. I'm happy that so far we haven't had any issues with flight sim itself, where we're actually getting, I mean, not the best frame rate ever, but it's perfectly usable. I mean, okay, here we start with the swinging side to side. Yesterday I went from like 45 FPS on high settings down to 11 just with the update. So the fact that we're getting enough frames to stream it, hey, it looks like it's sitting on no, there we go. Nope, does not want to. Yeah, so just with that VR update I went all the way down to 11 frames. And then if anyone else does have that issue, so what I did was, I saw on the forum someone said try deleting your rolling cache, and that seems to have worked, because since then I still don't have the same frame rate I had before. It's still lower, but it's not 11. And this plane's not too bad. In the Airbus, before I was getting like 40 frames in the Airbus, now I'm getting like 23, 24 at somewhere like Heathrow. So it's still, it's not, you know, 10, 11, but it's still not great. At least this is working fine. So if you are running into issues after the update with frames, try deleting your rolling cache. If you're not using rolling cache and you have the frame rate issue, then I don't know. But yeah, I've seen quite a few people saying as well in VR the frame rates. I mean, the one guy that I watched was running a 3090 and getting like 25, 30 frames in VR, which is not enough for VR. So hopefully they'll improve the frame rate in the next update, because it was fine before. It was perfectly fine. I mean, it still wasn't the best ever, but I mean, it is a very complex simulator, so we're expecting to have, you know, if you're running your sim at 30 frames, that's great. But 11 frames, that's not playable. Right, so how far we are? 14 minutes from our next waypoint, and then from there we are making our way to our destination. what I do need to do is I quickly need to grab one of my checklists so we can work out at what point we need to descend. Well, let me quickly do that. Okay, so now I have my calculation. So we need to do cruise altitude minus our final approach alt is how far we have to descend. So we're going to go down to 2,000 feet and we are at 45,000. So that means we need to descend 43,000 feet. And we're going to take that and divide it by 100, which gives us 430. Then we take that and divide it by 3, which gives us our 3-degree glide path. And that tells us where we need to start our descent. So 430 divided by 3 is, I can't remember how to use this calculator. How do I stop it from showing me fractions again? Okay, 430 divided by 3. Oh! I know there was a way to do this. Just can't remember which button it is. Okay, that's useless to me. Let's just use a less fancy calculator. So 430 divided by 3 is 143.3, so we'll say 144. Okay, so once we are 144 from our final approach fix, but we don't have anything like that because we are going straight to the airport. We don't have any approach procedure. We only have the ILS. So let's add 10 miles to that so that we are level by 10 miles. So 144 plus 10 gives us 154 miles from the airport that we need to start our descent. Then we take our ground speed that we're going to be descending at. So let's make it 450. And we times that by 5. Right, Fongkong calculator, can you do this one? 2250, so that's our descent rate. Okay, so at 154 nautical miles from Resolute Bay, we start our descent at a ground speed of 450 knots and 2,250 feet per minute descent. Cool, that's what we gotta do. Now, maintaining ground speed is interesting. We might actually go manual control on the thrust levers for that because there's nowhere in the autopilot where we can set a specific ground speed. So that we might have to do manually. And it's going to change as we go along, obviously. Okay. So we're showing quite a bit of weather here. Oh, there's some clouds beneath us, yes there are. That looks very square. Doesn't look square on here. Okay, so there is a chance we're going to have some interesting weather to go through. Let's see how thick it is. Oh, not really at all. So I think we'll go through it and underneath we'll be fine. Okay, back to this checklist. So our approach checklist is the next thing we have to do. Before descent, there's nothing else we need to do other than calculating our descent point and our descent rate, which we have done. Right, so we should be 4 minutes out from that waypoint, and then it's probably about 20-25 minutes to the airport. What is the distance? Let's go back to the flight plan. So from November 10, it is 246 miles. So we're going to go about 100 miles after this next waypoint before we start our descent. Okay, so 28 miles to go to this next waypoint. And then we are on the home stretch. Okay, so this says about half an hour left to go to where you are. It's still picking up Fairbanks weather, so yeah, I don't think there's any weather station out of these little remote areas, so we're not really gonna have much in the way of weather information for Resolute Bay. Let's see, do we even see it on here? Nope. Still too far away. what are we now? 2 minutes out. Just making small adjustments on the heading. Because we're so far north, you'll notice that our flight path is actually curving. It's not straight, so I have to keep making adjustments. Obviously it curves a lot more up here at the North Pole because we're kind of flying over the top like that, so it bends quite a lot. Right, so 30 seconds away from our waypoint, and then we are on the final leg. There we go. So 055 should be our heading. Let's dial that in. Right, and we are 248 nautical miles from Resolute Bay, so about 100 miles to go, and then we'll start our descent. Okay, fuel check, 1,600, all good. We're going to have loads of fuel when we arrive. Right, let's see we can put in on that arrival. That's not what I wanted. We want to go. How did I see arrivals earlier? It was here somewhere. Procedures. Arrival. No, we don't have an arrival. We have an approach only. Okay, so I think that's not in our flight plan. Says we're going to Buchan, and this has switched over to our VR. Interesting. Okay, so I guess this is part of our approach. I don't want this to switch over yet. Right, and Pocan is behind us. Okay, now I'm fairly confused. Oh wow. Oh, not that. Oh, that is right. go behind us. So Pocan is part of that. So why? Just not sure why it's pointing behind us. So maybe it's trying to take us back to that user waypoint, which is very odd. So what if we just do direct to Pocan? There you go. That's better. Then where's the rest? Oh, I just crashed it. No ways. I just crashed the sim. Is it gonna come back? I don't think it is. Oh, it's broken. Right. Yep, it's completely broken. Okay, well. Let's see if we can sort of get it back. Flight sim. I know I've said this a few times already, but this is why I went back to X-Plane. Yeah, it doesn't even want to load up now. Yep, didn't even want to start. Oh, there we go. Okay, it's opening. Okay, so now we can wait for it to load up, and then I'll see if we load that same flight. Maybe we can jump to the descent point and start from there. Oh, what a pain, flight sim. It's just so frustrating. I mean, I've never had a crash like that in flight sim. It's never crashed on me. And now, I mean, I've had loads of other issues, but that has never happened. But welcome to the VR patch, I guess. No frame rates, no working FMS procedures. Just broken. Right, so this is going to take a while to load up, as always. And the stream might drop a bit as it does its whole checking for updates thing, uses quite a bit of bandwidth. So if the stream does start to buffer, that is why. Okay, so it is busy loading in. As soon as it's in the game, I'll put the game back up on the stream. So, I'm just trying to think, what's this, the fourth time we've done flight sim on the channel? When we've flown the GA aircraft, it's been okay. But when we flew the Airbus went mad and wouldn't listen to any of our commands. Started flying around randomly. And now in the longitude, changing stuff in the GPS, crashed to desktop. Well, not even crash to desktop, just a complete freeze. I had to actually end the task. Not cool. Not cool if you're streaming. Okay, let me recreate this flight. And we wait for it to load again. Okay, it's almost done. So what I'm going to do is just use that travel feature and see if I can just drop us at the descent point and just see if we can fly it from there.
Fairbanks Tower and 616 NP Foxtrot minus Hotel Victor Alpha Lima ready to go runway 20 right IFR to Charlie Yankee Romeo Bravo.
Yeah, why is that happening? Because it's crashed. Let's just make sure we have full fuel, otherwise it's gonna not let us get there. Let's travel to... What is this point here? Travel forward in time. Right, hopefully this works. Okay, let's see.
Overspeed.
Holy moly.
Overspeed.
Okay.
Overspeed. Overspeed.
Dropping out the sky like a rock.
Overspeed. Overspeed.
Anti-collision lights on, those should also be on. Why don't I have control of the throttles? Hello.
Overspeed. 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 Landing gear. Landing gear.
And now?
Landing gear. 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 Landing gear.
Ah, that's fine.
Landing gear.
Okay, so now we should, how far are we? 238 miles. So... we'll go back up to... we're not going all the way back up to 45,000 because we dropped down to 42. We'll go up to 43,000. Actually, we've still got quite a long way to go. Let's go all the way back. Let's get back to exactly where we were. 45,000. Doesn't want to climb though, for some reason. There we go. Okay, so we are sort of back. That's wrong. Yeah, okay, so I need to change this. Get this out of my way. Okay, let's zoom this out. Get back on next rad weather. Okay, I think once we get up to 45,000 feet, we should be. We were at 225 knots, I think. Okay. Right, so a little bit annoying, but we're kind of back back to the point we were at. We're losing speed though. Hello. It's still waving from side to side. That was happening before anyway. Yeah, so we'll have to do the heading thing. Even restarting the sim hasn't fixed that. Okay, and now we should get ourselves back up to 45,000 feet. Okay. So jumping ahead in time has used almost the same amount of fuel. It's a little bit more. But we still have now the same calculations for our descent. So it's still 154 miles and 2,250 feet per minute at 450 ground speed. Yes, we're 207 miles away now. Okay, our stats have not updated. go. That should be back now. Right, we're at 45,000 feet. We're almost at our cruising speed. We're at 200 nautical miles to go. So we're kind of back where we were when it crashed. So at least we could get that back. I mean, if that was X-Plane or FSX or something, I mean, that would have been it. So I would have just given up at that point because there isn't a way to get it back. We're just lucky that it happened at that descent point. So by skipping ahead like that, we pretty much ended up exactly where we were when it crashed. So, I mean, if it's going to crash at one of the significant points in the flight, I suppose. I mean, do we risk doing this again? This is what broke it. What? I didn't... No. Maybe we just leave that. Let's try and see what happens. See, so it recalculates and wants us to go back there, which we don't want to do. I always scroll and then it messes up my view. But it doesn't put in the other waypoints, which is what I don't understand. But let's go direct to POCAM. And let's try the nav mode now and see. It's not going to work because this changes to PR. Right. Let's see if our nav mode actually works now. I'll be very surprised if it does. But we're going to go direct to that POCAN waypoint and then we'll just figure the ILS out from that once we reach that. So that we're going to use, we'll do 154 miles from there. Oh, do we really need to be level 10 miles before POCAN? I don't know where POCAN is because it doesn't have the other waypoints. We'll just do it to be safe. We'll do 154 miles from POCAN. That's still gonna wobble. Ridiculous. Right, how far do we have to go? 181 miles, so not long until we start our descent. So it looks like we're going to have this slight, although it stops over there, so I don't think we're going to have any weather issues at the airport. There's some significant weather out that way, but that doesn't concern us because we are going this way. And it's all fully orange there, but I can see the weather kind of stopping at that point. Oh, that looks like some more clouds there. Could be mountains, but it looks kind of soft on the top. I don't know. But we'll see as we get a bit closer. Okay, 169 miles now from POCAN. Okay, so it's outside our kind of range that we can get weather information for. So I'm not sure just yet. But even if it is, this orange layer is kind of just that that layer like that. We can get through that and we'll land underneath that with no issues. I think the visibility below that will be fine. Okay, 159. Let's start preparing for our descent. So we're going to go down to 2,000 feet. Now when you scroll this up, there we go. It switches 2000s, which is really useful. Okay, so we're going down to 2,000 feet. And we're going to do a vertical speed descent. So there's 156. So let's turn off the auto throttle because we're going to manage this ourselves. And we want to start slowing down to our ground speed of 450. So we'll bring the throttle back. And we'll go vertical speed, and we want to go down. So we said 2250, so we'll do 2300 because our ground speed is still a little high. Okay, ground spoilers are on. I think that's pretty much all we have to check for now. Okay, so now we just pay attention to that ground speed. So we want to bring the speed back quite a bit. Right, so Pocan looks like, I'm pointing with my pen which you can't see, Pocan looks like it's in line with the runway, so I think if we make an approach into Pocan it'll line us up nicely with runway 35. Okay, so coming up to 450 knots ground speed, so let's put in a bit of power. Minus 52 degrees outside, that's intense. So bringing in a little bit of power. We're actually doing exactly minus 2250, even though we've set it to minus 2300. It's true on my shirt, what a baddie. Okay, so according to Nextrad, we have that cloud layer all the way out to the airport. Doesn't look like it, but okay. Unless that's just draw distance for the clouds, maybe? I mean, looks like there's clouds out there that we're seeing as well, so not sure. Let's bring this back. Okay, and then we'll set 235. We're not going to obey that now, it's just as a reference for later once we get closer Once we get below 10,000 feet, we'll make sure we come down to that speed so we don't break the speed restriction. Okay, picking up a little bit too much speed now. So obviously our indicated airspeed is going to keep increasing. We're watching that ground speed value over there. We want to keep that around 450 for as long as we can, because once this gets up to the 300 range, we won't be able to increase our IS anymore. And then what I'll do is just increase the vertical speed rate. Sorry, decrease the vertical speed rate. That's all looking good. We're around 450 knots on our ground speed. 100 miles to go. Okay, we can put in a little bit more power. I just want to see the weather. It does seem to end, but next ride is not showing that at all. It's very weird. So as our speed starts getting up here to the 320 range, I can't remember what the max speed is, but we're going to have to start slowing down. There it is, 325. Which means our ground speed is going to start dropping. But that's okay. Yeah, how far do we have to go? 90 nautical miles. So let's bring this descent rate down to 2000, because we're going to have to start slowing down our IAS now. Okay, because we've done, so what did we start at? 100 and just over 150. So we've done about 110, 120 nautical miles to descend 20,000 feet. Yeah, so we're pretty much on, because we're going to slow down quite a lot, obviously, once we get to 10,000 feet. So we're on a decent descent path there to be. So we've got another 25,000 feet to descend. It did take us just over 100 miles to do the first 20,000, but we were going a lot faster, so no issues there on our descent path. Okay, what's our ground speed now? 238, so that's going to start coming down. We're going to keep it around the 320 knots IAS mark now. And we'll also get back on heading when this lines up again, because we're slightly off, which is not an issue. But we'll just line that up in a bit now. Once that bar gets to the middle, bring the throttle back a bit. Like so. Right, let's set our heading. So we should be 101. And the speed's going to bleed off a bit as we perform that turn, so we'll give it a bit of throttle. Okay, and as we level out, we can bring the throttle back. Okay, let's put in a couple more degrees here, so that we stay on course. Okay, 72 miles to go, 73 miles to go. We still need to descend 20,000 feet. So I think what we'll do from 20,000 down to 10,000, we'll increase our vertical speed again, because we're going to have to slow down to get to 250 knots indicated or 10,000 feet. So about now, let's go down to that 2250 again. Okay, so we should arrive in 9.5 minutes. So if we're descending at 2,300 feet per minute, let's times that by 9.5. We'll descend almost 22,000 feet. So that's, we're gonna be level just before. We need to slow down here. Okay, so I think we can leave that where it is. Actually, no, let's put this back to 2,000. And we'll let our speed bleed off now, so that we are at 250 by 10,000 feet. Okay, a bit more of a right turn. Because you can see our ground speed's now all the way down to 340, because we have to keep that IAS firstly below 320 once we get to about 20,000 feet, and we need to now start slowing down for the 10,000 feet restriction. Okay, we can bring our descent rate down some more. So I'm just doing a bit of quick maths in my head. So it's going to take us 10 minutes to get to the next waypoint where we want to be at 2,000 feet. But at 2,000 feet a minute, we're going to descend 20,000 feet in 10 minutes. But we're only at 15,000. so we don't need to descend so quickly. Whereas if we descend at 1500 feet a minute, descending 15,000 feet in 10 minutes is perfect. Okay, what's the weather like? Right, so next red still says, does it not? Okay, so I think we might be just seeing that edge there where it starts clearing out, where the airport's actually before that. So that's cool, but in a bit we're going to go into the clouds, which is actually fine. It doesn't matter, we're pretty much flying on instruments now in any case. Okay, so if we descend at 1500 feet for 9 minutes, that's 13,500 feet, which is a little bit more than we need to go. Okay, let's bring our descent rate down some more. So we'll do 1300 feet per minute descent. Let's bring our throttles back, start slowing down to that 250 knot restriction. Okay, we're at 250 now, so we've got just over 2,000 feet to get down below 250 knots, which we already are. No stress. Let's put some of the power back in. And we'll let that speed come down slowly there with that power set. That's perfect. Okay, we're on course nicely. We can go 1 degree to the right. Yeah, as we pass through 10,000 feet, we will turn on the landing lights. And in just a bit we will be going into these clouds. And let's put a little bit more power in. We can stay at around 240 knots. Okay, we're passing through 10,500, so let's put that on. Those are the only lights we need on. For now, our passenger lights don't actually do anything yet. Okay, so we should be going into the clouds shortly. Our ILS frequency, let's double check that that's actually set, because we didn't check that after our sim crashed. So on 1030 it is set, so that's perfect. Okay, we can increase our rate of descent again now to get us level. Start turning out this side. Right. Okay, we can go onto our nav 1 to the VOR, and our course is going to be what is it? 350, runway 35. Runway 35 is actually below us. Is it runway 35? No, it's 35. Huh. So Pocan doesn't line us up with the runway then. Okay, that's fine. Let's set 350 on here. Okay, we've picked up the localizer, which is actually on the other side of the airport, so we need to go around. So we're gonna do that. I don't know why Pocan is on this side then. Okay, so because we're going around to the other side, we can send a little bit slower. Okay, because we are going to go into the clouds now. Right, we can actually come around even more. There's our nice bright landing lights. We should see some of the volumetric lighting as we go into the clouds here. Okay, keep our speed up a bit. Yeah, something's weird here because this is now showing that the runway is that way, but on that map it shows the runway as being that way. So I'm very confused. Let's do this. Sure. Okay, we have to follow the ILS because I think that's what we're going to use to land, but I don't think it's right. Oh, okay, so what's happened there is we've just hit icing, so we've lost our speed reading because our pitot tube is frozen up, but we'll heat that up quickly and get that back. I can't zoom in any further than that, so that's as much as we can see for that airport. But let's hope the ILS is correct. Okay, Sizzle, I'm going to be off. Thanks for the stream. See you in the next one. Thank you for tuning in as always. Sleep well, and we will see you again on the next stream. Okay, so pitot heat defrosted, and we've got our speed and altitude calculation or readings back. Right, so still not entirely sure where we're going. I wouldn't have expected to get icing at minus 28 degrees. I don't think that's 100% correct either. Like, obviously the moisture's there because we have the clouds, but at minus 28 degrees I think it should be too cold. I don't know. Obviously we are getting ice because we lost our pitos there for a bit. Okay, so my plan is to go this side of the airport, and then we'll fly parallel to this localizer and turn in like that, because it's telling me the runway is this way, but on the GPS it says the runway is that way, which is also what I remember from looking at the map. So I'm not 100% convinced that our ILS actually knows what's going on here. But we'll test it out and see. If it doesn't work, we'll have to make another plan. Okay, so basically at this stage we're just managing our throttles to keep our speed. We are fully in the clouds now. Okay, let's now turn our heading to fly parallel to this supposed runway. Obviously we're not going to see anything, it's too dark and it is cloudy as well. So the only way we're going to find this is by flying the ILS and seeing if there's a runway at the end of it. So we're going to be ready for a go around, that's for sure. I think we turned too early here, to be honest. Yeah, we have, definitely. So let's go back this way. We're gonna fly east. Okay, a bit of turbulence starting to show up now. Those purple dots. You can see the aircraft is wobbling a bit as we're going into the clouds. Yes, the runway kind of does. Man, I've really screwed this up, haven't I? That runway is right on there. That is runway 35. Why did I go this side? Yeah, that's just me being dumb. Yeah, we should have just carried on to Pocan. Why did I... Whoops. Yeah, no, that's just a mistake. Just me, or are we very close to the ground? Not too bad. Okay, so we're gonna do kind of makeshift circuit here. Why did I think I had to go this side of the airport? Yeah, I mean, Pocan was perfect. All we had to do was fly there, intercept the localizer. I'm just trying to think what made me decide I had to go around this side. I thought the runway was facing this way somehow. Right? Getting a little bit fast. Do want to come here and put our wind back on. That's why we're a bit fast, because we have the wind coming from behind us. Okay, I think that should hopefully be enough space for us to intercept the localizer. Okay, let's turn. but you see, this doesn't match up. Because now we are flying parallel to the runway, and that is not parallel to that line at all. So something is a bit off here. There's some of that volumetric lighting. If I do this, might be a bit easier to see. Yeah, we see it. I mean, we are perfectly parallel to the ILS according to this. And that is definitely not parallel to that. Maybe because we're so close to the North Pole, this whole kind of map is like warped. That's the only thing I can think that would cause this. I mean, that would make sense to me now why I decided to go around, because I thought this course line wasn't lining up with what I was seeing on the map. Yeah, so we're going to do this down here and intercept this ILS, which is facing that way, I think. I reckon if we go around these lakes here, we should be okay. Pretty low as well. 2,000 feet. It's alright. Okay, let's start making our way towards this ILS. I'm gonna start bringing the speed down as well. We can get our flaps and gear out. Okay, approach checklist, nav source, nav 1, auto ground spoilers, normal, landing lights on, flaps, we will set on schedule, landing gear, same. I'm just going to kind of make a gradual turn to the right here to eventually put us on this ILS path. Yeah, I mean, look, we are perpendicular to the ILS now, so it's facing that way, which doesn't line up with that, I don't think. I think the map could just be warped because we're so far north. That's the only explanation I can come up with. Yeah, we are pitching nose up quite significantly, but we need to get into that wide arc to extend the flaps. Oh, flaps 1, 250 knots, so we can do that. Flaps 2, 230 knots. Let's go flaps 2. Yeah, it's going to complain about the gear, so we'll stay at flaps 1. It's not like an ILS cone on the map, which is interesting. So means I'm not too sure exactly where it is. I'm just keeping a close eye on that. As soon as that starts to move, I'm gonna, you know, set my heading closer to the ILS so we can intercept it, not such a crazy angle. Yeah, it looks like we are going to line up with that. I think it is just a warped map because we're so far north. Hectic. Okay, let's stop the music. Let's turn to intercept this ILS. So let's arm approach. It's already picked up the localizer. Okay, a little bit aggressive, but it's alright, I guess. So get down. We can also turn on our taxi lights. We can turn on our tail flood as well, just to make us as visible as possible. We'll go flaps 2. And we'll wait to go full flaps only once we've actually intercepted the glide slope, because we're pretty low still. Okay, it looks like we're starting to turn onto the localizer. Not really. Totally IMC. Which is not an issue. There we go, now we're starting to turn onto the localizer, that's good. Right, okay, so it does actually line up with that runway on the map, because we're making our way now towards Pocan, so it's just a case of the map being warped so far north. That's crazy, I didn't know that. Here we are now, not on the localizer. We could please sort that out. This is getting a bit Interesting. Yeah, there comes the glide slope. So we're both flaps full. Okay, we seem to have made a mad dash for the localizer now. And we're on the glide path. Be gentle, aircraft, be gentle. Now, I mean, according to our instruments, we are not aligned with the localizer at all, and I don't see. Oh, I do see a runway on the synthetic vision. We are miles off. So let's take control ourselves here. How about that? Get ourselves back onto this localizer. It's going to be a little bit touch and go. Oh, we shot through it. That's the worst thing we could have done. I see the lights. Yeah, no, I don't think we're gonna make this. Yeah, we're going around. Taxi light can come off because it shines into the cockpit. Hate it when that happens. Okay, so we're a little bit over. We should have been at 3,000 feet. Speed's coming up nicely though. Alright, so we're gonna go around and try again. But I think from this point I'm gonna hand fly the localizer because it's definitely off. Look where it's pointing and we're in line with the runway, so we can't follow that completely. Maybe it's not off and it's just where the plane thinks it is off. I'll see, but I'm going to hand fly it from a lot sooner this time so we can make sure we get in. just so off-putting where there's like nothing lines up. It's so strange. I think what we're going to do is we'll use the localizer to line us up to start off with, and then we're going to mostly use our synthetic vision to make sure that we are correct. Oh, and the viz is bad. I mean, it is literally, we were a couple hundred feet off the ground when I saw that the runway lights. I mean, I did say last night on stream that at some point we're going to run into some bad weather. I didn't expect it to be literally the next stream, but here we are. Okay, there's the glide slope. Right, now that that glide slope is all the way up, we can start cutting in. Oh, that is so annoying. Okay, so we're kind of going to come in like this and go towards Pocan. Okay, red out 2,300. Okay, let's come in some more. Okay, we'll go flaps on. Start bringing the speed down. Okay, I'm going to hand fly it from here. We're coming up to the glide slope now as well. Let's go get out. Hand flaps 2. this on so that my flight path marker can give me some guidance. Mostly for the glide slope is what I'm going to use that for, because I don't think the localizer is correct. It is also quite bumpy, which is great. Okay, flaps full. I'm just looking on that synthetic vision for the runway. I think I see it. Need to be over to the left a bit. We're getting low. I'm not seeing it. What I thought was the runway, I think, is just water. Oh, I think it's that there. Yeah, it could be right. Because you still need to come to the right. I mean, we're perfectly on the glide slope. Oh man, I need to see the runway. Yeah, that is it there. There's some lights. 500 feet. That can't be it at that angle, is it? Holy moly. There's two. See, I mean, look how the localizer, it doesn't follow the runway's heading. Not at all. Oh. Okay. Not the best. Jeez, and there's a bad crosswind as well. Okay, that wasn't pretty. It wasn't good. It was pretty terrifying, actually. But I mean, look how offset from the runway the localizer is. That's really what messed us up in this entire thing. I think that's a taxiway there. I don't know if our spoilers even deployed. I don't think they did. But hey, we made it, I guess. I mean, we stalled it right into the runway at the end there on a weird angle. But you know, on the ground, we didn't die. Okay, strobes can come off. Yo, that was intense. I mean, the visibility is shocking, but I just can't believe how much that ILS is offset from the runway. That's really what gave us issues. I don't even know where to park it. There's no lines or anything. There's some other planes there. reckon we just park it up here somewhere. Oh, there's a dude. Which way is he facing? No, he's facing that way, so we'll go around him. We'll park from that side. There is a 172 here that we need to be careful of. I feel like this parking was made for a much smaller plane. I mean, he's not really giving me any instructions, is he? He's just holding his cones up. Okay, now he's telling me something. Right. Parking brake set. Didn't even start the APU, which we should have done. To be honest though, I think we're going to use the ground power. Yeah, let's do that rather. Oof. Oh my word, this is just something else. I want to actually click on this. There we go. Okay, that was intense. The visibility is horrendous. Just turn off the batteries. And we can actually just turn off the external power. Why is everything still on? Standby power, there we go. Okay, good lord, that was shocking. So, a whole bunch of things went wrong. Flight sim crashed first of all, that was an issue, but we carried on our descent. From the descent point we were able to load back up, but then, wow, that ILS is like 30 degrees off the actual runway heading, which really messed me around, I won't lie. And then at the end there I was just looking at the ILS, worrying about it being offset and talking about that and not managing my speed well enough, so we stalled it into the runway, but we were just above the runway, so we landed pretty hard, but not terribly. But yeah, we made it into whatever this place is called, I can't even remember. Resolute Bay? Something like that. Anyway, it was pretty rough. Bad weather, and it didn't actually look that bad on the next rad, but when we got here it was full IMC with an ILS that was giving us the wrong indications. But anyway, thanks again for watching. It was great. Christmas Eve special all the way up to the northerlymost airport that we could find, which actually had a concrete runway. There are airports that are further north than this, but they all weren't suitable to land at, and this was what I found in the sim. That was the most northerly airport. This is Resolute Bay, I think it's called, right at the top of Canada. But anyway, thanks again for watching. Before I say goodbye for real, let's queue up our outro like so, and I'll see you again in the next stream real soon. Thanks again for watching, always appreciated, and I will see you again soon. Bye bye now.